We'll do it again. Um, I I know most people's lives are really hectic right now, and I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy, busy days in these unprecedented times. And I hope that the time today offers you a break from whatever else you're doing and a window into some very good things that are happening in our world. I also ask that you prepare to be fully present. So if you need to close a door, remove a pet from your room, hide your phone, turn off your email, whatever that is, um, just so that you can just be here for the few minutes that we're together. I also want to introduce Jenny, who you'll see her on your screen. She's our Zoom moderator. She'll be moderating the chat room, or if you have any technical difficulties, she is the person to go to. So just a quick few tips on Zoom. Jenny, if you could advance to the next slide. So it looks like everybody here knows how to use Zoom, but just in case, those buttons on the lower left-hand corner, you can unmute yourself and start your video. So we're all starting how we want. We want to start this off with people muted and without sharing their video. When we get to the Q&A, I encourage people to turn back on their video because we want to see people's faces and we want to hear your questions. Next slide. So, just an idea, if you want to be sure that you see Apollo, who's our most important guest today, choose gallery view, and you can also hide the people that are blocked out, and that's just helpful so you can focus on that, on Apollo's and what he has to say and share with us. And then you can also, on the screen, you'll see in the lower left-hand corner, you can enlarge or your Zoom screen if you'd like to. Does anybody have any questions before I move from Zoom stuff? Okay, feel free to interrupt me if you change your minds. So Ready for Resilience is an online event series, and it's really designed to give folks insight into how farmers are dealing with the pandemic and helping us to build a more resilient farm and food system. I want to thank our sponsors, Farm Credit East and Fresh Pond Capital. They, along with all of you that have made donations, are making this work possible, as well as, really we're doing this so that we can respond to people's needs as this pandemic continues to unfold. So the Carrot Project, we're really just here to seek a just and resilient farm and food system, one that is supporting farmers that are using regenerative practices and represents also the cultural and racial diversity of New England and the Hudson Valley, and obviously helping to contribute to a healthy food supply. At our core, many of you know we are business advisors that are helping farmers build and use the financial management skills that we hope will allow them to be here 5, 10, 25 years from now. We help people answer questions like, can I afford this? Should I enter this market? Can I take out a loan? And many other, and help them build the skills to answer those questions on their own, and also use those new skills to adapt and change their operation in relationship to the pandemic. Less known about us is that we also use all this on-the-ground experience and knowledge of working with farmers every day to do research and education and influence policy that we hope will make it easier for farmers to succeed. So this event, as I said, it's a part of a final push to raise the remaining $22,000, although I think that's now changed to $18,000 of a campaign to ensure that the Carrot Project can help farmers address and respond to the pandemic. So thank you all again for making your donation, and if you haven't, I hope that you will. So I'm going to pause. It looks like we're already recording. And any other questions before I introduce Apollo? Okay. So Apollo, I'd like to introduce Apolo Catala. He is from Oasis on Ballou farm, and he grows he has diverse vegetables on a ½ acre in Boston, near Codman Square, or in Codman Square. And he works, his employees and workers are formerly incarcerated men of color, and he sells his products locally to provide access to fresh food in food deserts. So we first met Apollo, I think, way back in 2018. He participated in a business development training that we put on for urban growers. And so when he started, his farm already looks very different than it did in 2018. And I guess we'll learn more today about all the changes that have been happening in the pandemic. So Apollo, are you ready?
I sure am.
Okay, great. So for your first question, um, making your farm work in today's environment is demanding. So, and yeah, so what is your special sauce? How do you describe your special sauce in terms of making it work?
I think is my special sauce would be multi-dimensional because the challenges that we face are in growing food in a just and sustainable way is a multi-dimensional challenge with multi-dimensional opportunities. So I think that awareness gives anyone, I think, that's in this space, drive to get very creative and making things work. I think that without the help of many organizations,
Mm-hmm.
many individuals, volunteers, organizations like the Carrot Project, we really would not be where we are from when we started in 2015. We certainly would not have had the success that we have had in this very challenging year of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Great. So can you tell us about, yeah, what is this, describe the success. What does that mean for you?
For for I could go down the list and not get to everything, but we grew more food than we have ever grown in the past. And every time that we harvest anything, we are setting a record. We had a 1 day record of 325 pounds of produce that went to the local markets. We that included 97 pounds of cucumbers. People like cucumbers. But it has been impressive. And what we did this year that we built on from last year was that we expanded our CSA, which is for the members of the Dorchester Food Co-op. That's a work in progress for now 8 years. And as they're finally getting into a retail space, but we did a CSA for them. And that CSA was done in collaboration with another urban farmer. And it helped us set an income record that really opened eyes because, although the Oasis on Ballou is a farm that is part of a program of a nonprofit, we are mindful of um, the need to be sustainable in all respects, and we won't close our doors if we have to self fund or raise funds for the farm, but we want to know that we are being successful, and that has been the case this year, and that has come, from the contributions of many, including Girl Farm in Western Massachusetts, who Laura there did an interview a couple of last year, I guess. And this year, out of the blue, volunteered, do you need seedlings? And I said, do I need seedlings? Well, one of the things that happened in this in the pandemic, that's all of a sudden, you don't know where you're going to get your seedlings from. But I'll add to that. Um, I'll add to that later because it's really a central story. But and I don't want to be rambling too much, but I think that that's my attempt
Okay,
to answer that
sure.
question.
Sure. And just folks know that Laura Meister from Farm Girl Farm is in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, out in Western Massachusetts. And she is a former client as well of the Carrot Projects. And she also is now, she was in training for a couple of years to be a business advisor. She works with the Carrot Project as well as some other organizations, and in addition to running her own operation. So, yeah, so I wondered, Apollo, if you could talk particularly about kind of the pandemic. So right as the farming season was, getting started and hitting high gear, pandemic kind of changed everything for many farms. And so I wondered if you could talk about what has been the impact of the pandemic on your farm.
Um, the impact has, in a way, been positive, despite many negatives, um, because it tested our resiliency, and I think that we have been very resilient, and that will not, it made us ask for help. It made us understand the value of networking and not being in this journey by ourselves. So I think good farmers need to be good networkers, and that was as evident when I did the training with the Carrot Project, as it has been throughout my journey in urban farming. Um, and this year, when the pandemic hit, we were on the verge of hiring our typical farm crew, but that was not going to happen because everything was shutting down, and we didn't know how people were going to get to the farm. We didn't know what protocol we would have. It helped that agricultural workers were declared essential workers, so that we were able to um, look at the resources and think about how we would do this and how we would practice social distancing at the farm. And we did that, but we didn't get around the part that our traditional farm crew, um, you know, was we did not overcome. We overcame that, but we did it by not having the reentry men.
Wow.
So that created opportunities for high school students who, through the in case of Boston, through the Boston public school system, to come at the farm, because they all were also looking for an open air space, so
Mm-hmm.
that they, because normally they have these students work in indoors, but that wasn't going to cut it. Um, the food project, where we grow a lot of our seedlings, shut down out of concerns for um, uh, COVID. So to better manage that, and that limited the use of that space, which has always been
Mm.
generously provided. So um, that made it. The bottom line of that, I don't. The other big impact, we had a high tunnel planned for April, a high tunnel that measures 30 feet by 72, and it's wonderful. It just got done, but we did not get it started until July because of the COVID. Um, so all of these things came together to really, and I was working by myself. I was I was working every day, putting in over 8 hours. Starting at 8 or earlier, and going home at 8. And that was the challenge of COVID. And if I from if I had not been blessed to really want to do this and recognize uh, the importance of doing this work, I would have just said, "No, this is crazy. I'm going to stay home, or I'm going to do the minimum." But I was not willing to do that, and fortunately, I started asking around for folks like Laura, the trustees, Revision Farm, Food Project. There is not a farmer in in the Boston area that hasn't helped out in one way or another. Sometimes they bring volunteers, sometimes they donate seedlings. Um, but it was just it was hard. It was
Mm-hmm.
hard, and at a time that we were poised to have this wonderful 30 by 72 long um, high tunnel, and I can remember the last day where volunteers came without any restrictions. March 10th, they planted bok choy and they planted mustard greens, and those mustard greens flourish. and ended up in some appreciative tummies, including, because we like to share, some of the groundhogs. That was a little bit annoying, but they also enjoy our harvest. But that was that, and then it was a scramble from the, and it's been like that. Long hours.
Great. Thank you. So this raised a lot of questions for me, as I think it probably did for those of you that are listening. I'll have one more question, then we'll open it up to all of you to see what questions you have for Apollo. So I think this next question is not long, but it's a big one, and you can take any piece of it that you want. But you are very much, as you've described, on the front lines of the farm and food system. And I just wondered, and I know you think about this a lot in general, but reflecting on society at large, in your community in Codman Square, on the pandemic, the racial disparities that are present in our food system, things like that have all been heightened from the pandemic, such as long lines at food pantries or ever-growing lines at food pantries. I wondered how I guess, keep going and how you think about a just and resilient food system.
That's a great question, and it relates to the opening question. That special sauce, recognizing that this is the challenge of growing food in a responsible manner and creating um, food access in a way that does not damage the environment and benefits individuals is at the core of what drives um, um, the Ballou farm. And it is certainly something that I think about. And there is a multi-dimensional, interrelated factors. It's ironic that um, access to food is more of along with others, a social determinant of good health than access to health care. And we spend so much money on health care, but we we should think about how could we spend more money on access to food, and that is across the entire spectrum of growing food in a responsible way, in an organic way, regenerative way. Um, so that is something that I think about, and I think about solutions, and making people aware of the challenge and making people aware of the possibilities um, from the surface to the deep down. At the surface, people start to appreciate, hey, I want to do what they're doing at Ballou. And what are you doing? What are you growing? And can I grow this? And people start wondering, are we going to have a workshop? And yes, we do have workshops on how to take care of your garden, how to build a cold frame, and all that. And that is the impact that we can have at one level, but then we also start to have more in-depth conversations about the actual relationship between food and health. And people start thinking, food is really medicine. And from there, we go all the way down to focusing on changes that need to happen at the farm bill level.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to think my shortcut for thinking about all this that we do is that we are committed to engaging the community in promoting individual, community, and environmental health. And that's at the urban, at the peri-urban, at the rural, and at the regional level. Um, that's what sometimes keeps me up at night, or it just energizes me to go back out there very early in the morning, or to read the next article when I should really probably be catching some seas. But anyhow, uh, it is exciting, and but it's food matters, um, Black Lives Matter, and all of this is really interrelated. And I think together we can make a difference, but it isn't going to be overnight. I mean, I think that there's some serious policy reasons, tweaks that need to be made. And if there was any doubt about that, the COVID-19 has certainly exposed that with an exclamation
Mm-hmm.
point. The things that I have seen at the farmers market, where folks kind of help themselves to produce without paying for it, or they say that they'll pay you later, and all this is fine. Okay. Uh, and I think it's just a measure of the stress that people are going to and the access issue that people are having. And, you know, I shop the competition like a good farmer, and I look at the shelves, and the things that I have seen, are cause for concern, and they motivate me to, uh, you know, just ask around, make sure that I have enough seedlings to, for example, to put in my 1,700 square foot of growing space
Mm-hmm.
high tunnel, and we're filling it with cool weather crops, because we want to make those available.
Great.
Anyway, that's
Yeah.
I can get excited about this, folks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, thanks. That's wonderful. So, please, everybody, if you want to turn off your video so we can, or turn on your video so we can see your faces. You're not just mystery people. And if just open it up for questions. Looks like Paula's unmuted herself, so you go, Paula.
Okay. Could could you talk a little bit more about the collaboration with all your different stakeholders, and you can choose any party that you want. And then I would be interested in understanding what the policies might be that you would have to deal with, or regulations, excuse me, to get your regular workforce back safely, and what the barriers to that have been.
Um, good question. The first one, the collaboration, there are all numbers of listservs where people make announcements about opportunities and about webinars. A lot of webinars. It's kind of hard to get any farming done because there's so many webinars. But there's also I'm just kidding. You do your best to go to as many as you can. And there are some that are on all aspects of farming and all aspects of food system, and that facilitates it. But you do have to kind of keep it balanced, because you're not going to be able to attend to all of them. In the Boston region, there is an urban farming group where policy folks are involved, where farmers are involved, where governmental people from Mass MDAR are involved, people from NOFA are involved. So that's goes to that first question, and people are want to be helpful. They want to learn from each other, and we so that's kind of that's a good space. Is there now in terms of the particular challenges for getting the workforce on back, the normal workforce? One of the things that I didn't get to say when that question came up is that one of the good things that resulted from not having that is that now we have additional potential workforces. And by that, I am referring to the students, the high school students. And, we have Corey issues, criminal record stuff that will prevent them from being on the site at the same time. But that's a simple solution. We don't have them scheduled for the same dates. And we don't always have people scheduled for the entire week anyway. So it has work. And the great thing about that is not only that we're giving that we're fulfilling our commitment that we have made programmatically to men of color, navigating that reentry process. We're also expanding opportunities for the potential young farmers of the future and the food system folks that are going to be most, that can make a difference, and the generation that's going to be affected by the climate change and food system issues as they are evolving.
And just if I could ask a follow-up, I know you haven't been doing this for too long, and really and so, but of the men who have been trained by you and supervised by you, have they been able to get paying jobs out on some of the other farms, like some of the big market garden farms?
Um, yes, but a lot of them, and this is always a challenge. They're um, they're not self-selecting. They don't come to Ballou because they wanted to farm. That's
Yeah.
something we discover in the process. Some of them don't discover it in the process. They all get appreciated, and there have been several that have ended up working in this space, and more that are trying to get into that space. And we are, another side project that I have is a project that focuses on creating a cooperative with primarily men of color who are navigating the reentry process. Although it's not exclusively, it won't be exclusively men when we end up doing it. Everyone should have a place at the table, and it's a cooperative that will try to grow in front lawns or backyards, but do it as a cooperative and do it for market. Obviously some of the property owners who lend um, their
Property, yeah.
yeah would get a benefit, but we also want to make sure that this cooperative of men and women navigating the reentry process have are at the helm of this. And one of my prior employees from last year, excellent employee. Oh, no, actually, he was class of 2018. Yeah, and he's sitting at the table on that, and so is another one from last year. And the wonderful thing about these guys is the ones I discover is they go through this, aha, I planted this. This thing started with a tiny seed, and look at it now. Those are the ones that are really engaged, and you have to work on making that space a just space, the industry from for the employees, because we want all employees, especially those and including those in the agriculture sector, need to be make a living wage, and that's a challenge. So yeah.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. I think you're muted, Dorothy.
I'm sorry. Yes, sorry about that. So I just want to say I think we have time for one more question, formal question, then we'll, shut we'll hang around as long as people talk. But I just wondered if anybody, Jay, Steve, Riel, if anybody has another question. Okay, well, if nobody
I can type in if nobody has a question.
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
Apollo, I'm wondering what's next for you. I know that there's always, I feel like it sounds like a lot changes from year to year at Oasis, and I'm wondering, if you were able to do everything that you wanted to do in this next year, what that would look like.
No, that first photo that you have from the high up, we call that section out the Ballou Heights. And we are going to be growing up there. We have a few fruit trees up there. And we're looking down from the Ballou Heights. And we are going to be, all the open space that you see is in the process of being no more. We will do some terracing in the hill that leads up to the heights, and to the right of the green tent is the new high tunnel, and we're just going to keep expanding, and we're going to beyond that we will increase our collaboration with other farmers, because I do think that we need to focus on high value crops for us. And the other favorite crops that are plentiful in Massachusetts, we need to collaborate with rural and peri-urban and regional farmers to bring those in. Corn immediately comes to mind. We have a lot of great corn in Massachusetts, and we could bring it in the city, but we're not going to ever be able to grow that. But we can collaborate with different larger farms in Massachusetts and more, and following up on that model. The other thing beyond Ballou, um, I'm working on as part of the Dorchester Food Co-op to establish that as a market opportunity for farmers, and we are already doing that. I'm also working on a group that is a regional group of farmers of color, Southern New England farmers of color, where we will, our part of our mission is to create access to additional and bigger land sites outside of the city, and to complement what we do in cities. And that's an effort primarily of farmers in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. And a lot of that is also training. Don't be surprised if we reach out to the Carrot Project and see how we can collaborate around the financial training and other opportunities. Because at the end of the day, we want our farmers to be successful, and we want them to, and that takes real intentional commitment and training to the things that make for success. And I've already mentioned in terms of what's next is this effort to explore, establish this cooperative that's going to focus on growing in property owners, institutionals, and individuals land for market. And this would be folks who are interested in, who might not be interested in having a home garden. So we're targeting that niche. If you're not interested, or you're not capable, if a homeowner is not interested, or property owner is not interested or not capable of producing in their backyard, that's the niche that we want to target.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And we would love to, yeah, let us know if we can be of help.
We definitely will do.
Think about how we can help train people and expand this, because obviously financial viability is close to our heart. So yeah, so thank you all, and thank you, Apollo, for your questions. And I know it's always heartening, Apollo, to hear how, the changes, how you adapt, and the pivots you've made, and, how it kind of seems to close some doors. And then there's like these new opportunities, like with the high school students and some of the new partnerships you've had. It's like amazing that somehow you manage all that. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. I think we're all done. I want to thank all of you for paying attention and to listening, and thank you all for having made a donation, participating. Paulo, can you take off your hat and put it close to the screen so they can see it? All of you have been entered in a drawing for a hat like Apollo's. It says the Carrot Project on it. It'll be newer looking.
This one's got farming mileage on it.
But I just want to thank you all for your participation and for your support of the Carrot Project. And we look forward to helping as many farmers as possible as we plow forward. So thanks a lot. And Jenny and I will be here until if people have additional questions or want to kind of reveal themselves. But otherwise, thanks a lot, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Dorothy, and also if anybody wants to reach out and ask any other follow-up questions, feel free. Thank you so much. I am going to head off to my next farm meeting.
Okay. Thank you very much, Apollo. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So Paula, you're good. We don't have to get you on all of these to ask questions.